Hey everybody, happy Saturday. Welcome back to Dancing with Us with your girl Christelle. I hope everybody had a wonderful week. Ugh, let me tell you, I'm over all this snow. I can't no more. I can't. Literally, when I say to you, I cannot deal with any more snow. Like literally, okay, let me let me set it up for you. First of all, so it snowed from Sunday into Monday. And I was like, it's not that bad. It's raining. Usually when it like rains with mixed snow, it's not so bad. So I'm just like, this is not bad. I wake up in the morning, let me tell you, there was a lot of fucking snow out there. I was not happy about this. I was like, all right, let me get myself up and let me go out there. I'm gonna shovel a little bit so I can get in and out, out of my parking spot. And when I tell you, guys, I literally was like, I thought I was gonna die. I was sitting in my car. Literally, I turned it on and I was just like, this is it. This is it. I cannot. I'm outside and I have air, but the air is not going in. The asthma is kicking in. It was brutal out there. I said, I can't. If it's gonna snow, let it snow after the next 2 weeks because I will be on bed rest after my surgery, which is March 13th. Um, I can't. I just can't. I cannot shovel anymore. And then it was so funny because I don't know if I'm just not intuitive with my surroundings. Like, I swear to you, like I was driving and I saw mad people in their own homes with bobcats. I'm like, what the fuck? When did snowblowers become extinct that we have now gone to an extra level to get bobcats? All I saw was like little ones, not like these big ones. I mean little ones. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening out here? Like, how expensive are these bobcats? I want a bobcat. That's what I want. Yeah, I was thinking I was gonna be cool and get myself a snowblower for next year. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get myself a little snowblower. No, apparently that's not the thing anymore. It's a freaking bobcat. Okay. Like, I'm mad about this. This is why I'm mad, okay? Not wait at all. Oh my God. And then let me tell you guys, I yesterday I found I had an endoscopy done, right? And for those that don't know what an endoscopy is, it's um they put a little camera down into you, right? Of course you're knocked out. It's the best sleep in the world. Um and they look at your stomach to see if you have ulcers or if there's, anything going on in your stomach. I think I told you guys that I was having this done. So I had it done and I ended up finding out I have a bacterial infection in my stomach, right? Which apparently this is a thing because a lot of people have been getting this. I'm like, well, how the hell did I get this? I don't even eat bad. I don't eat fast foods. I don't eat, I don't really eat bad food. I eat a lot of like potato chips. Maybe that's the cause of it. Who knows? But other than that, like, I don't really eat bad where I could say, well, Crystal, you got this bacterial infection because you were eating X, Y, and Z. Now that's not the reason. So whatever. The pills that they've put me on, I swear to you, I'm an 80-year-old woman walking around with a Monday through Sunday little capsule bottle thing. You're like, I gotta take my little pills now. You know? So I've been bad. I haven't been taking them properly. And I decided yesterday, because I swear to you, I don't know if it's the pills that is like, or my stomach is healing from this. Then now all of a sudden I've gotten this appetite out of nowhere. Like my stomach, I swear to you, it like yells at me half of the time. It's like, feed me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why am I so hungry? I don't understand it. I feed myself. And it's, I'm eating, but I don't know if it's because now, like, the pills, the medication is healing this infection that I had in my stomach. But I'm like extra, extra hungry lately. Like, a girl can eat, and that might be a problem because summer's right around the corner, and it's like eating bad is now over and done with. Well, now I'm gonna have surgery, so I'm gonna be like Ozempic, without the Ozempic, skinny mini. I can't wait. So I've been trying to eat as much, as I possibly can to get myself in there. But, you know, yeah, it started to show a little bit. So I'm like suckerization, but I still fit into my size 2 jeans, which is pretty damn good. So, anyways, um, so yesterday, I swear to you, the new KFC twisted chicken wrap came out, and the way they have the picture made my mouth water. I was like, ooh, that looks so good. Yeah, 4.99. All right, I'm gonna get the combo, 9.99. I walked away, it was $14. I was like, what the fuck is this? Not only was it $14, right? Um, which, listen, once a week I kind of, spoil myself on whatever I want, whether if it's pizza or if it's whatever. I try and do that once a week. You gotta have a cheat day. And I got home and it didn't look like the picture. It looked like a burrito. I said, what the fuck, KFC? What are you doing? Like, this doesn't even like say, I want to eat you at all. It was like, all right, it's going to be kind of enjoyable, which it was all right. Does it make me want to go out and get another twisted chicken wrap? No. And I wish I would have taken a picture by this, but then my brain like sunk in afterwards after I ate it. I was like, I should have really, really, really videotaped this. So, so that's how my week has been going. And we have another week down. Oh, I cannot wait for my surgery. I don't want to be in pain and suffering anymore. It's taking the wind out of me when I tell you. It's a lot. It's a lot when you're constantly in pain and you can't move around too much because everything that you do triggers the pain. It's like, So a week and a half left. I cannot wait. Whoop, 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 whoop. So all right, so let's get down to it. So while I have been hibernating like a little bear, all these documentaries have been coming out, which I'm very excited because it gives me more to talk about. And well, first I have to talk about Bridgerton, okay? Because as a fan, as a huge fan of Bridgerton, okay, ladies, I was definitely all in this season. This was probably hands down the best season since the first season started, and we're 4 seasons in, and I cannot wait for next season to start because it's like, how do you keep topping each season? Last season was all right, I was like, okay. I didn't think that this season was gonna be great. But I have to tell you, it had me at the edge of my seat, and I can't believe that it's over. I feel like they shortened this season, but it was such a great season. So I'm not going to spoil it for everybody that has not seen it yet. The whole Cinderella plot was kind of like, oh God, this is where we're going with this. I have to admit, I was in the beginning, I was like, all right, we're going with Cinderella. This is the whole Cinderella stepsisters story plot. So, but I have to say, excellent, excellent, excellent season. So that's what I was binging on this little season. I'm so sad that it's over. But along with Bridgerton, we had the Top Model documentary, and I could not wait for this because for those that were invested, and this is like the 20th anniversary of Top Model, the show, Tyra Banks, anybody that was invested at that moment when it had first came out, we all did the same thing. And I'm sure there was some guys out there too, like, I could be on Top Model. right? And you always kind of like thought like, yeah, I could do it. I could do it. And, as the seasons kept on progressing and progressing, you kind of was like, I don't know if I want to be a part of all of this. That looks like a lot, and you kept on going back and back and back a little bit. And so I was not expecting much from the documentary, but I was expecting much, if that makes sense. So let's deep dive into Top Model. So it really, okay. So for those that don't know what Top Model is, it was a show back in the days where Tyra Banks created. This was her baby. Okay. Now I want you guys to keep in mind that that's very important, because when I get more into it, you're gonna then that comment is gonna come back around. She wanted to create this show, the life of a model, what it took to be a model, going on ghosties, which is going on interviews, in different parts of the world, and really just, you know, perfecting what a model would look like, walk, talk, um, everything, being trained by the best. And it was a great show, like I said, in the beginning, but then it started getting a little bit more of like, I don't know if I would want to be a part of it. Now, here's the thing with reality TV. Everyone always is like, I want to do reality TV. I've even said it. I could definitely have my own reality show, but going into it, you really got to know what it is. You have to have your yes people and your no people, is what I always say, because reality TV sometimes, is not all real. And people have come out that have been on reality TV, and they're like, no, it's scripted, but it's not scripted. Like, they feed you certain lines to kind of keep the plot going. And the more years that you're invested into reality TV, the more it's kind of bullshitted its way through to keep it going for ratings and whatnot, apparently, allegedly. So, and I really would have to say, like Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians have perfected this, because they, every single year they keep giving us more and more and more. But it's a very, very produced, very hands-on. They have a lot of power over that show, and that's why it's successful. So, um, they did have a lot of the old cast from Top Model speak out, and it reflects their experience. And I have to say, Shaundi Sullivan was one of she was from Cycle 2. Her story was probably the most traumatic out of all of them, not taking away anybody else's experience. But she was the one that was kind of reflected as the ugly duckling of the group, right? She worked, I think, at like Kmart or like a dollar store or whatever. And she came in, and they redid her, and she was absolutely like gorgeous. When I say gorgeous, 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 she was in a relationship with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend encouraged her to do Top Model, and she gets it, and they remake her over. They go over to Milan. They go on go sees, and they have these guys that, that drive them all over these interviews, right? And then a group of the girls say, you know what? those guys were those guys were really cute. Let's bring them back to, our pad, and just have a little party or whatever. So that's what they do. Shaundi ends up getting a little bit intoxicated. Well, I don't want to say a little bit. She was completely drunk. And she says that she explains it in the show how she drank way too much. She ended up getting sexually assaulted, and they videotaped it. That nobody, I think, at that time though, where reality TV was coming in, and I'm not defending sexual assault by no means whatsoever. I'm trying to just explain that, you know, what happened to her. The producer should have really still stepped in and said, you know what? That girl's been drinking too much. we're gonna have to stop this, shut this down. They even explain that, there were scenes that were cut out because it was very, very way worse than what we actually saw, which obviously we know that because once it gets to the editing part of it, they are going to clip certain things that they can show on TV and things that they can't show on TV. So there was this alleged shower scene that was cut out that was very, very, very like graphic. The guy was on, she said, she explained that the guy was on top of her and all she knows is that they ended up having sex. But that instead of the production company saying, you know what, let's step in, let's do this, they actually had her film her whole discussion with her boyfriend, explaining what happened. And it was a whole breakup on national television, which gave them great ratings. At that time, no one really believed in Tyra Banks in this show. You know, season one had came, it did successful. Cycle two has topped that. And that's usually what happens is that when people first do something that's not um or that's not copied off of something and it's an original, you're always thinking like, how can I keep topping the show? How can I keep going? It's kind of like this, like the podcast. I'm always trying to figure out what's going to get more views and what's going to get people's more attention to listen to the show. Not that I would, again, they definitely should have, there should have been someone there to say, this is not okay at all. This poor girl lost her boyfriend. She's traumatized. She's not a model anymore. It really ruined her life. And, you know, looking at it and Tyra Banks explaining the situation, she's at fault at this, even though she wants to say that she wasn't at fault at this, because here's the thing, this is your show, this is your baby, right? Um, Instead of her coming in, because then they show a clip of after this is all happened, Tyra coming in, she's like, and she's having this weird discussion with Chandri. And she's like, yeah, I've cheated on a guy before. I've done to kind of make the situation better. I don't know whether or not if um she did that because she was trying to save face, she was trying to save um on lawsuit that could have possibly happened. I don't know. But what I do know is that, okay, you did the show. This is how you handled it, right? At no point then, when now this time has passed, have you said, okay, this is what should have happened. This is not okay. What I should have handled this in a different way. Tyra Banks, knowing how the industry is, how, they would make the models starve, it was very competitive, who was going to be the best. And she's had conversations about this in different interviews on how grueling the fashion world really is. You have to be a size zero in order to be, a model. You have to be X amount of tall to be a model, which I couldn't because I like to eat. And I'm not tall enough at all. I am not tall enough. So I'm just like, I can't be there like a carrot. What's up, doc? No, I can't do that. I just can't do that because I would be like, give me the salad, give me the corn, give me the chicken, give me the barbecue, like, and then I'll walk the runway. Like, okay, no, like I can't do that, which is why, Gigi Hadid, which who I love, um, this was a big deal because she was, on reality TV with her mother when her mom was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Yolanda. It was very disgusting to see Yolanda. You can't eat that. No, you can't eat that. If you're gonna eat something, have a little bit, have that much of it. And she was just like, you can tell there was a lot of pressure to keep the daughter in a certain way, a certain look and whatnot. So I'm glad that, Gigi went into a different kind of way and she's still being a model, but doing it in a more healthier way. But yeah, Tyra Banks had no apologies whatsoever for this. Even to this day, there should have been something done. She should have even reached out to the girl and be like, you know what, I'm so sorry that that happened. At that time, the producers, my hands were kind of tied. Whatever she wanted to say, knowing what she knows now is what I'm saying. It's like we learn and we grow from every situation that we do. We're human that way. The next contestant was on cycle 7, Takara. I absolutely loved Takara. I wanted her to win. She was definitely my favorite. But I did not like the girl was skinny, but this episode, and this is when it started becoming noticeably like, okay, first it wasn't about weight, and Tyra Banks really stressed about the show, about being in the modeling agency and changing the world and making it different. But she actually ended up doing what everybody else does. They really honed on to the girl's weight. She's like, we had to, brush out a lot of the photos because you had tummy fat. The girl was not eating, it was really, 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 really sad. And there's some scenes there that some of the girls, they were becoming anorexic. And this is when anorexia started becoming this big thing. And you saw a lot of movies with anorexia. And it's really, really sad that some of these girls were like drinking water and that's what all they would have for the rest of the day. They would, it was now looking back, you can really see it. But at that time, I don't think that we were very aware of it. But that's another thing. She was very strong and she had her opinion on it. But Tyra Banks ended up bloating up, you know? And look at all of the beautiful models that we have now that are like making different waves through the fashion industry, and they're heavy set, or they're bigger, whatever you want to say. And I think they're absolutely beautiful. And I think it's a way of changing and viewing people. So you don't have to be a stick figure to be beautiful and for someone to love you. Like it amazes me a lot of the times. Like there's a girl that I watch, a TV show. She has Tourette's syndrome, and her name is Balin. I love, 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 love Balin. She's absolutely beautiful. Her boyfriend is drop dead gorgeous. And the fact that he's there for her, that he takes care of her, and he doesn't care about the Tourette, I'm telling you, like you see so many things, and you're like, okay, I'm never gonna get but then you see other people's situations. You're like, wait a minute, that's possible, then it's definitely possible for me. Now if you're picky, now that's a whole different situation. Again, I couldn't do like Love is Blind and whatnot because I would be like, love is not that blind for me. No, 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 no. So I couldn't do that. Like the doors were open and be like, ah shit, I picked the wrong one. I don't know if I could do that. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm very insecure that way. Okay. I'm not the most gorgeous girl, and I am not expecting to kiss the right frog and bing, it's gonna be Prince Charming and whatnot, But I'm just saying, if I ends up finding the one and he's like drop dead gorgeous, I'm gonna be like, how the fuck did I get this lucky? All right, God, we did something right. But bam, it's like that's all I'm really gonna say. I'm like, I don't even know how I did it, but all I know is like I'm sure I gotta figure out a way to keep them. That's all I got. That's the way my way of thinking is. I really can't fuck this up because I don't know when the next one's gonna happen. So, but that's just me. Okay. So with Takara, she ended up making it to the end, but she was not the winner of that cycle. So, I felt really, really, really bad. And, she came out and she's like, it's it's one of those things that people make you feel bad because you look at yourself and you see yourself beautiful. You have already these insecurities, and now you have people in the industry actually telling you what your insecurities are and pointing them out and doing this. And it's just like, it doesn't make you feel good. I remember for myself going out and doing a couple of auditions for acting and having producers and directors and telling me, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not fat enough, your hair's not blonde enough, you need surgery, you need to do this, you need to it's I always say it's always you gotta have thick skin to be in this field. It's not an easy field to be in. Um, Eva Marcel, she was not a part of the casting, and well, she was in what cycle was she in? Hold on one sec. I'm trying to remember what cycle. She was a cycle winner. She won in Top Model Part 3. And I loved her. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's done very, very well. Here's what I always say to people. You can go on these shows, right? And she said it very well. A lot of the cast have come out that have won and said, being on Top Model was kind of like a double-edged sword for me because yes, I won, but once I won to get actually my foot in the door, if people saw that I was associated with this show, they would not book me. And I always tell people, I'm like, look, everything in life you have to work for. And Eva Marcel said it perfectly. She was on the Breakfast Club not too long ago. And she said, look, yes, that show was um a great start, but it was always embedded, no matter how everybody else's experience, because she can only speak about her experience, how much you want it. And if you work hard for it, then it will come for you. Did it hinder her? It made it hard for her to get her foot in the door? Absolutely. She said, yes, it did in the beginning. But because I wanted this so bad, I kept on pushing, 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 pushing. And this is why I have the businesses that I have. And she's like, at the end of the day, I have to give Tyra Banks props. Now, here's the thing. This is where I become a little bit of an oxymoron on this because in one part of me, I'm like, Tyra, you did wrong, girl. Like you were fucked up in how you treated these girls. But at that time, it was a different time. There was, there's things that are going on and it's move, 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 move. I get that, but now it's about accountability of what has happened. And, she didn't really apologize for a lot of the stuff that had happened, nor does she have to. I get that. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, no, she does. How dare she treat these girls? Because here's the problem for me on this is because you cannot say, I'm, I'm not the producer of the show. I leave that in the production hands. But if you want to say something is your baby and it's yours, you have to take accountability for the things that happen. So there's a scene, and I don't remember which cycle it was, where it was like bulimia and they're like vomit and they had to take pictures of what illness that they would have and whatnot. She should have stepped in. They're like, you know what? No, I don't want to expose all of this because then it's going to lead into something else. We all have a choice. Even with me doing this show, I'm constantly like, I don't care if I get one view, okay? That one view is going to make a difference on what I say on my show. If I say, oh, something, to the left, and that person now ends up, it destroying their life, that's what I always have to think about. So I always try and be as positive and give my view on it, whether if it's right or wrong, I'm valid to my own opinion, so are other people. But it's, you always have to think, okay, how can I make it better? But how can I make it better in a positive way? And as the cycle went on, I kind of feel, in my opinion, that her ego kept on going, growing and growing and growing. And what ends up happening, I've always said this, no matter what field you're in, if you're a producer, if you're a director, if you're the president of the United States, your ego gets too high And this is me because I am, you guys know I'm a very spiritual person. God will take that away. He will crumble and your whole world apart. Things that are in the dark start to come into the light to crumble your world. And I've always said that. It always happens with people that have to be reminded of what was given to you as a gift, right? And I kind of feel that that's what happened with Tyra Banks. She got too big, and then what ended up happening was is that the top people that were producing the show, they were like, we don't want this anymore. So they gave her the boot, and now they did a reboot of Top Model, but she's not a part of it. And she even said it. She's like, this was my baby. I can't believe that they would do it, but there's always consequences, and you have to think about those consequences and what you've learned and how you can grow as a person after that. So, but did she open the doors for people? Yeah, she gave up, like, even with my coach, my acting coach, she was very, very tough on me. And I hated her. There was times that I would go to class that I would be very pissed off because I kind of felt like she was setting me up for failure. And now looking back on it, I'm like, oh no, she was giving me thick skin. So sometimes the approach is not, you know, validated at that time, but later on you look back and you're like, oh, okay, now it makes sense, you know? So I don't know. Right, guys, that's it. It's 30 minutes in. The show is over. Next week, if you guys have not seen the documentary on, oh, by the way, if you guys want to see the documentary on the top model thing, it is on Netflix. Now, I'm constantly on Netflix, so you know me. But you could watch Top Model, the documentary on Netflix. Also, the documentary for the Screams murder, which is what we're going to go into next week. These knuckleheads, if you're going to do a crime right. Why do people do crime wrong? I don't understand this. We're going to talk about that, but that's also on Netflix if you guys want to peek into it before the show starts next week. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you for coming in. And again, if you know anybody that is not following the show, if you feel like the show is great and you are entertained, please get them to follow. Keep me going. Keep me going. I love you guys. Have a great weekend. See you next week.